welcome to another Faith Horizons podcast. Today I'm with Damion Cooper. Damion Cooper is with Collektive Company. That's collective with a K. Collektive Company, and they're a ministry out of organization. Welcome, Damion.
Thanks for having me, Nathan, man. I'm excited to be with you.
All right, man. Well, I'm really excited about this because, it just seems like everything you bring is like an explosion. So,
yeah.
They
call me the energy guy, huh?
Yeah. So just give us a little bit of a synopsis of what the Collektive Company is and then what's the objectives.
Yeah. So Collektive Company is, so if you have teenagers, you have young people around you, that's what we target. We're all about influencing the next generation. There's a lot of influencing going on with social media, with a lot of people in the world, a lot of culture. And so our hearts is really to shape the hearts and the minds of the young people by influencing with the gospel. The second pillar of our ministry is empowering community leaders. So anyone that deals with youth, coaches, administrators, teachers, parents, that we want to give them resources. We want to equip them. So I'm in the schools equipping teachers, administrators, how to build bridges with these young people, how to relate to them, how to connect with them, even with diversity stuff. You got, you got these white teachers with black students. How do you reach and connect with these kids? And then, the last pillar is one of the biggest hearts, right? Is John 17, right? Like the world coming together, uniting together. And so unite local communities. And people's like, what do you mean unite local communities? Well, your local community could be your two houses in a neighborhood, right? Or it's your schools in your community, or it's your businesses. And so one of the biggest things that we do is called Unite the Summit. And so we bring in schools from elementary, from middle schools, from high schools, businesses, and we do once a year service projects. And so you get teenagers, you get, our youngest one was 5 years old, our oldest one was close to 80 years old, serving together throughout the city. And we come and do a big rally. Casey Wolf shows up. We do a big lunch.
That's awesome, man.
So it's really, really cool. So that's the pillars, influence, empowering, uniting of, the next generation, community people, and then ultimately getting those people together to really see the gospel come out into fruition.
Oh, cool. So the the Collektive Company is does it like you said, you're in the schools. What does that mean when you say you're in the schools? You're getting to know people, because I know that's part of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So being in the schools. So when I was a youth pastor in 2017, one of my biggest hearts was saying, hey, if you're a youth pastor in community, you got to be on campus, right?
Yeah,
and so one of my first things I did when I moved here in Kansas City was meet with the superintendent. Say, how can I serve you? How can I serve your mission? And what was awesome was the fact that he said, let me get you connected with one of our high school principals. So which was literally 600 yards away from me where I lived at. So I was like, okay, I could just walk to this high school.
You're without excuse.
Right? Exactly. So I met with him and I asked him, what is your passion? What drives you? He goes, serving. So I'm like, well, I'm here to serve you. I have no agenda. I just want to serve you. So he got me connected with one of the teachers, which is an AVID program, Advanced Via Individual Determination class, which is for, first generation students that are going to college. Students can really develop, great habits in the school, note taking, and then they just need mentors and tutors. So I became a mentor and say, hey, I'm going to show up next week. And the teacher laughed. And I was like, why are you laughing? She goes, everyone says they come back. They never come back. So I've been coming back for the last 6 years.
I was going to say, you've been coming back.
So throughout that time, I'm a visionary guy. I'm a dreamer. So I say, hey, I'm a risk guy. People can always tell me it's no, right? And so go back to the principal and say, hey, I have a DJ. Can we come in and just host a party for your kids? What? I'm going to bring 100 WKs. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll do it during your block time. He's like, all right, let's do it. We had 120 kids show up.
Oh my
He's like,
gosh.
let's do it again. So we got the word around, started partnering with some other youth pastors. Chick-fil-A partnered with us, Post Coffee and Elite Summit partnered with us. About 300 kids showed up. For the last several years, we've been averaging over 650 kids.
And this is for the summit, right?
This is for the getaway party in the school. Just in one school. Yeah, just a getaway party in the school. And so from there, it navigated to, then I started building, when COVID hit, a lot of people said, man, my ministry is crushing. People use it as a crutch. I use it as an opportunity. I didn't slow down, but I used that as an advantage, saying, hey, kids are in the school, teachers are suffering, students are suffering, admins are suffering because everyone's so separated. Yeah. But I said, how can I come along with you and partner with you and serve you? He goes, how can you serve our teachers? I said, let me come in and just really create sessions for y'all. And at that time, all the George Floyd stuff happened, all the stuff in the world was going on. And so I sat down for 9 sessions throughout the whole school year together
That's
and
awesome.
talk about racial, unity, racial diversity, and all these things, and how to really reconcile the hearts of our mindset and then really back to God, and really getting at the nitty gritty, talking about the roots. Where did you come from, the background, and really having some, cultural conversations, which was really cool. So that navigated to, really building that relationship with the administrator at the time, was assistant principal.
Yeah.
He's the now head principal. And so now, after being out of COVID for a couple of years, getaway parties back up and going. We're doing that. And then I'm the chaplain now for the football team there.
Oh, gee.
So I'm the chaplain for
So
the
which
football
school
team.
is this?
Lee Summit North. Yeah, Lee Summit North High School.
Okay,
so,
Lee Summit North High School.
Yeah, so I'm chaplain for the football team.
Is that the one right next to 4th, 5th Street, or?
Yeah, so that one's downtown. So that one's Lee Summit. That's close to like downtown. That one's Lee Summit North is close to the Walmart on 291.
Okay.
So yeah, so just right down Tudor Road, by Panera on Douglas Road, right there by the police station. So yeah, man, it's cool. So I'm the character coach for the soccer team, basketball team, and then I travel. We do chapels every Friday, before the football games, and so it's been really cool. And I have a leadership, team with that, and we call them dogs. And so
dogs.
Yeah, so there's an acronym for that. So I can get into more of that later if you want me to. And
Definitely,
stuff. So,
definitely.
But that's what we do in the school, and so we got more opportunities to go into other schools and do that as well.
That's so cool. All right, well, let's just get a little bit of your backstory. Then I kind of want to go into some more questions about what you're just talking about, because it seemed like what you've done is you have tested and proven your structure.
Yeah.
With what you're just talking about.
Yeah.
You found needs and you filled them with with your unique approach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, so let's just get a little bit of your backstory though. So just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, Damion Cooper is a kid that was born and raised in Salina, Kansas. If you go straight down I-70, you go west, you can't miss it because it's all flatland, right?
Wow,
but no,
wow.
I was born and raised there. I was raised by a single mother. My father wasn't really in the picture, and so at that time, she married my stepfather, and and he went down to Corpus Christi and everything like that. And so soccer was my God, growing up playing soccer and everything like that. And at that time, I was just trying to figure out my identity in Christ, right? My brother went to church. I said, I'm not going to church because I just want to go play soccer. He comes back on a Wednesday night. He goes, you need to come. I was like, I'm not going to go. There's mac and cheese and chicken. I said, you got me, bro. And so I go that next week, and there was mac and cheese, chicken, and cornbread and fish. And I'm like, okay, I can go to church. When I walked through the doors of the church, though, this guy greeted me, and I go, Mr. Cheeks, what are you doing here? He goes, I'm the youth pastor here. I'm part-time, which was my 7th grade teacher. So I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I didn't know that. So he took me under his wing because, again, I didn't have a father figure in the home. And he taught me. He's like, hey, you dance. Stop doing all that hippie-hoppy stuff. You know what? Come and do it for the Lord. And I was like, what's that look like? He's like, so he introduced me to praise dancing. So I remember praise dancing for the first time by Let Go by Dwayne Woods. And I'm crying. I'm like, what is this? He's like, it's the Holy Spirit that's on you. And, this is something that is a call in your life. And so I was like, I want this. So I gave my life to Jesus when I was 12. Me and my brother and sister all got baptized in October 2008. And, you know what? This is going to be cool. But again, throughout high school career, you live that double life. You go to church on Sunday, and throughout the week, you're like, what? I'm going to do all my rebel stuff, right? Saturday night, you're partying, all that stuff, and, not doing the stuff that you're supposed to be doing. Some of the stuff I might be saying on the thing. My mom watched it. She's like, I didn't know you did that. But, when I was 16 years old, that's when I, had actually like a heart attack. And that's when I sat in Children's Mercy and said, all right, Lord, like, I want to rededicate my life. And so fast forward into college, that's when I was playing, Fort Hays State University. I was on a 4I scholarship. And
which university?
Fort Hays State University.
Fort Hays?
Yep, Fort Hays. Yep.
Hays, where's that at?
Hays, Kansas. Hays, America.
Hays,
Yep, that's what they say. Hays, America, man. And so that's just our, west of Salina, right? And so met my wife there. And at that moment, at that time, in 2017, that's when we got married. That was my last season
How
of playing.
old were you then?
I was 21.
I was going to say 20.
I was youngin', yeah. And people was like, you should get a career, you need to do all this. I said, nah, the Lord told me marry this girl. If I don't marry her now, I may lose her, right? So she is the love of my life and a partner in my life, man. And I'll tell you, man, it's amazing. And
what's your wife's name?
Krista. Yep. So Krista is, woman of God.
Is that with
prayer.
with a K, right?
A K.
So she's KC, man.
I'm
KC,
telling you, man.
Krista Cooper.
It's meant to be. Right? It is meant to be. And she was an identical twin too, which was so fun and everything. And so we have 3 beautiful children. Briella, she's 5. Malia's 3. And then my little man Creed, he'll be 1 in July.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, man. So we were a full house. They keep me young for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm up always before 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. because one of them's always up smiling, ready to go, right?
Yeah.
But, that's my family. That's the background that, I came from. I'm a family man. Love my wife, love my children.
So you were almost on a pro level for soccer? Or?
Yeah, so that route, that journey, sometimes I kind of scare that to the side, right? But, when I was
because it seems like you kind of turned away from that into this other thing. So that's what I mean. Like it seemed that
absolutely.
way, yeah.
So when I was 18 in high school, I had an opportunity. England called me and said, "Hey, we select 13 players out of the whole country. We recruit, and we want you to come and sign a contract with us," which means I was signing with a professional development league there, which I'll be in the second tier.
Yeah.
And which will operate as a college, but also semi-pro, and then the first team would be the actual, division. And
but this was the gateway in.
This was the gateway in, and most players that their dream is to play overseas. Like MLS was good, but you go overseas. That's when you're really playing at a high level.
That's where football's football.
Exactly. That's the real football, right?
Yeah.
And so my mom sat down with me. She's like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know," but she's like, "Well, Fort Hayes is giving you a full ride, between your academics, your FAFSA, and what they're giving you for a scholarship, so you go to school free." And I told my mom, I said, "You won't pay a dime for my college." She goes, "Well, appreciate that." And I knew at that moment, if I go to England and I get injured, then I'll have nothing to fall back on. So that's when I went to Fort Hayes. I had the dream of my life, right? Go there my freshman year, score a goal, first game. I'm like, this is going to be easy. I'll be here 2-3 years and to go pro. I'll finish my degree later. And that's when, God wrecked me. I literally got injured. And throughout my time there with the college ministry and all that, that's when I was trying to really shape my identity. And when
Did you get injured, though?
I did. In 2015.
Okay.
I sprained my ACL.
How old were you then?
I would have been 19 years old.
Yeah,
I was
19.
Yeah, I was 19 when I sprained my ACL. And that was tough for me because, again, soccer was the motor. Soccer was my vehicle to things. So when I didn't have it for 9 weeks, people were like, "Man, it's not fun to be around you." But I'm like, "Yeah, because I don't have soccer right now." So I'm having hard conversations with guys like, "What do you want me to do?" So I trained my butt off, right, to get back into the spring. Yeah. And my spine was so unaligned that it was shutting down my legs. So they thought I had compartment syndrome. They said, "You have muscular dystrophy," like all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't know if I can play the game of soccer no more. Which happens was I just need a chiropractor to pop my spine back in. Yeah. But that didn't happen until later in the spring. And then I got to go to a discipleship program in 2015. And that's when God really changed the view of things. Said, "Hey, I want you to become a man of God. I want you to share the gospel."
God corrected your course.
He did. In 2017, that's when he told me
there's nothing wrong with soccer. It's just,
and I thought that was going to be the platform.
God had a different mission for you.
Yeah, and I thought that was going to be the platform to use to glorify.
So you say, you're part of music now. Like, where did that come into play? Were you already a part of that? I mean, you said you had this soccer thing going, but then when did this music thing happen?
Music was always part of my life. I mean, growing up in the home, my mom always had it. You know, sometimes when you hear music in home, it's like, okay, I got to clean, right? But one of the things was I always was part of dance. I danced for a couple companies. They had me come in as a special dance, and do that. Then in college and stuff, I'll still dance here and there. And then when I got here in Kansas City, I, again, never thought, because I always tell people, if I never had soccer, then I would have went to school for acting and dancing. Yes. I was a thespian, Troop 3639, come on now, right? Yeah. But, I had passions for it. So I was just like, all right, God, what's that look like? Because I always felt like I was supposed to partner with a DJ and do something unique with the gospel. So when I saw him at a youth convention and doing it, he actually invited, people come up and do a dance battle. So I'm with all these students and stuff. And at the time, we didn't know each other. And so he remembers the conversation we had, because I reached out to him and said, "Hey, I got on stage and you invite me up. And, this dance battle, I have this vision." And so we sat down at Independence and, and we just talked about, what could we do together. And then the DYD of our district said, "Hey, I know this guy, I know you, y'all need to do something." I'm like, "Well, you're calling us and we're meeting at this time to do something." So 2019 was the moment that we birthed Iron Collective. And so, we had a rapper at that time. I do spoken word, which my wife, Krista, she writes all my spoken words, which is amazing.
Oh, cool.
And I do all the performing for them. And then I dance, and then we had a DJ. And so now it's grown over the course of years. Now we have added a beatboxer, we got another DJ, and it's been really, really cool to see how God's done that And, so the musicality part of it, man, it's like we rap, we have songs, we do like EDM, we do all kind of stuff, man.
Okay.
And
so that's where you met Kenny, though, was at this
youth convention,
the youth
2019.
convention, 2019. So Kenny is now a part of Collective Company, right? Or he's
So he's been part of Collective Company before Collective Company was actually birthed.
Yeah, and so that was the Iron Iron Company or something like that, right?
I am Collective.
Iron Collective.
Because I am, as God says, I am who I am, right?
So I am Collective.
I am Collective.
I am Collective.
Because everything that we do is before it's for Him, and so it's really cool how God has put that together for us. So,
all right. So let's just go back to Collective Company. So where are you? So like, what is the best application of Collective Company right now? So like if I'm throwing an event and I need something to happen, do I call you?
Yeah. So, you can reach us in multiple facets. We're on social media, Instagram, but our booking on our website is one of the easiest because it goes directly to our emails. Yeah. And so you can literally book me for speaking, book us for shows, and we get it. And then the team goes and we just pretty much converse like, hey, is anyone available? And sometimes we may not bring the whole team depending on what you want. So you're like, hey, I just want music, I just want a high energy, like pre-service. I'm like, okay, we can bring 2 or 3 of us. Or if you want a show that's 60 to 90 minutes, we bring the whole team, and we got some partnerships with some people that we can bring in some lights. So typically we use the lights in the venue that we're at, which is nice because most of the time when we're at conferences, events, they bring all that stuff. So we don't have to tap into all that. But this year, this is the first year we actually hosted our own show in King's Church and Lee Summit, and they opened up their space like, hey, you bring the show, we'll open up a door. So we had over 400 people show up.
That's so awesome.
And it was really cool. We had people from Springfield, Missouri, people from Kansas, people from Nebraska. It was awesome.
So who's your target audience when you're doing
so
this?
I would say our target audience is youth and young adults within that, because again, the older people are like, we ain't going to stand for 60, 90 minutes jumping up and down. But also the younger people, which is really cool, is like, because we really hit the heart. One of our biggest values with the Collective Company and I am Collective is authenticity, and every time we step off the stage, I step off the platform, whatever it is, they said, wow, you guys are so authentic, you're so raw, you're so personal. And that's something that we reach the hearts. A lot of times, you get up there, people are like, they're cool and stuff, but we not really know them. You get to know us throughout the show. Like, hey, like we went down this path. Soccer was my God. And that can reach a lot of those kids in there talking about identity crisis, right? But my identity is not what I do, it's who I am. Yeah. And that's something that you're like, whoa, like, okay. He went from a soccer player, and now he's on a platform presenting the gospel in such a unique way. And we have people like, you can DJ and preach the gospel? Absolutely. You can rap and preach the gospel? Absolutely. You can beatbox and preach the gospel? Absolutely.
Don't you love how God is beginning to break down what used to be walls between, like, I mean, we created so many walls for we talk about the 4 walls of the church, we created so many walls for the 4 walls, and I talk to organizations like the Collective Company or other organizations I talk to, and the Holy Spirit and God and the Trinity upstairs is really about breaking down, hey man, I didn't create the church for 4 walls, I created the church to be way outside the box.
Absolutely. That's what's cool when you say that, because that was one of the biggest things that when I was praying about this ministry that God's given me, he goes, I want you to move beyond the 4 walls, right? And for me, being a youth pastor and stuff, I loved it, right? And pouring into them, discipling, training up, the next generation. But, when I was out in the community, when I was in the schools, man, it was just a whole nother juice, another level. And people recognize that too. And you have to understand what is your passion? What is your gifting? What is your talents? And I used to say, like people's like, oh, boast. Like, it's not about boasting, but when you're really good at something, then be all in with it. I know I can come into a room and light up the room because of my personality and what God has given me. And so if I can come into a classroom, light it up, or I can come into a convention and people's like, all right, man, we're about to have service, but you step on stage and you give a 25 to 40-minute show before even the whole conference starts, and like what just happened, it just makes the kids saying, you know what, man, I'm all in, because now you get their hearts and their minds saying, you know what, I want to be creative like that. I'm open to that. So now you make the hearts that were hard softened and tendered. And so it makes it actually easier for the speakers, for the host to come in and saying, now let's see God move. Let's see God go in. Worship is even more intensified because that's a whole nother style of worship. We usher God's presence and prepare the harvest, right? And that's what's really cool is that, hey, we can be the people to come in and plant seeds. We can come in and be the ones that water. God does the watering, but we can come in and help cultivate that. Or we can be the ones that, hey, reap it. And, over the course of the last 4 years, we've seen over 300 young people come to know Jesus through our shows.
Awesome.
And I mean, we have people coming off the stage. This guy's been baptized of the Spirit. Like, he's burning all this. And, we had one kid come up to us. He's like, you know what? I'm going to my dad who's an alcoholic, and I believe tonight he's going to be healed and delivered from that. Because I was in depression, and I walked away out of your show with peace.
Yeah.
And, one young girl, I stopped the show. And that's what's really cool.
Yeah.
We have the permission, and I told my team, any of you have the permission, the Holy Spirit prompts you to stop the show. We will stop the show for someone or for a group or for a word that the Lord has given. And a couple of years ago, we had a show, and middle show, everyone's jumping up. And I say, stop the show. Everyone like, what's going on? I said, God has a word for someone, not everyone, but someone in this room. There was a young 20-year-old girl back in the room. And I said, I don't know who you are, and I know God is speaking to you in this moment. If you're brave enough and bold enough, raise your hand. And she's the only one to raise her hand. She walks up. It was like the Red Sea, right? The whole crowd splits, and she walks up. And there's a picture on our Instagram page. I'm bending down on the stage talking one-on-one. And let me tell you something. It was powerful. And then 6 months later, we did another show in the city. She's in the green room, goes, hey, do you remember me? I was the one that you talked to. And she's reconciling a relationship with her mother. Her mother's crying, saying God has got hold of her heart. So that's the stories, man. That's what we do it for. It's not, oh, look at who we are. It's glorifying God and seeing young people being transformed in the gospel and by the gospel.
That's so cool. So, I'm just trying to get a hold of this thing because it's so big. What you're trying to do. So, if a church wants to hire you as a speaker, if they want to hire you as an event thing to happen, like I'm sure you guys can bring up the blow ups. You can bring all that too, right? Yeah. So basically, you bring the boom. Basically, you just bring the big bang,
right? Absolutely.
Whatever you need, for that company. And so you said something about you were going to go on tour here this year, right? So and so that means that you're just basically picking up a bunch of different organizations that have hired you, churches or school districts that have hired you to basically bring what you have, right?
Absolutely. So there's two different types of tours that we would like to do. So the first one that, we did the last couple of years is the Iron Collective Tour. So that is a course of 4 or 5 weekends in a row that we go and partner with youth conferences, conventions, camps, and really just bring the show. And we partner within those local communities as well, like the youth pastors and stuff. And so that's the nice thing. Like, people's like, you guys have all this equipment. What I'm saying is the word key to a collective is like, that's why he gave me the word collective. He goes, you can't do this by yourself. It's going to take a collective effort. People all got talents. People all got gifts. People got resources. So collectively together, that's how you really, and then people are like, why is it company? Like, that's a business. Why not collective ministry? I said, because company tells people, oh, he may be a for-profit. Let me bring him in. So in my mind, I'm thinking, people's like, oh, I have a company in here. And really, it's a ministry. Yeah. And so people's like, oh, I was like, well, it's company because all of us are people and it's a company. Yeah. And so, we go and do all that and everything, which is really, really cool. And then, from that standpoint of just getting into the school, getting into the conferences and stuff like that, throughout the tours and everything, we just want to be very intentional with the yes, because if we say yes, we're saying no to something else. And then the other tour that we are wanting to start here, hopefully in the spring of 2024, is the Getaway Tour. And so the Getaway Tour is the getaway parties that we do in the schools. And so we've been in talks with several school districts about coming in and hosting parties. And so
that's really like crossing a lot of boundaries right there.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, we don't go in and actually people's like, you go in and do these public schools and just preach the gospel? Well, not really preach the gospel in such a way like, are you going to heaven or hell? Or you like none like that. It's, hey, you're loved. You have a community that's behind you. We care about you. And we do it more individually rather than do it as a whole. Because there's some lines that you can't cross and things like that. But, the credibility through the favor of God, man, it's been really cool. The barriers that we've been breaking down. I mean,
that's awesome.
I can come into the school anytime and just walk around, pray, connect with students. I think I tell people, I said, I'm more like Jesus than I was a youth pastor, man. Because I'll walk down the hallway and this girl's like, I need to talk to you. And she was having suicidal thoughts. And I said, you want to commit suicide? She goes, how'd you know? So, and I was like, Holy Spirit. And she literally got help.
Holy Spirit, man.
Right? And it was cool. And we got her help and everything. 5 days later, she sends me an email. Thank you so much for seeing me. Thank you for caring about me. And I'm like, God cares for you. Yeah. And so it's those type of stories that
only the enemy wants you to commit suicide.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Yeah. So when we come in and do the getaway parties, it's a high level energy, just bring the fun, bring the party. And then we do like a 5-minute message, you're cared, there's unity. You see all these people, you see all the community. We bring volunteers in like Father's Club,
That's
all
awesome.
that stuff. We want partnership. So I'm not one of those, ministries like, we're all in there. We're going to do it. It's going to Collective Company's name. No, the thing is, it can be brought by a Collective Company, but really it's more than that. It's Chick-fil-A. It's Post Coffee. It's a church. It's, everyone's coming together as a collective
the collective
group.
company that God is bringing together.
Absolutely.
The unity of the...
which is our third pillar of our ministry is unifying local communities to really reach the mission.
A lot of people use the word synergy. God's bringing together the synergy of different organizations.
Absolutely.
I'd like to turn the chapter. We'd like to start winding down a little bit.
Cool.
With the so if someone wants to get a hold of you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so there's several ways they can do that. So there's 2 websites they can go on. They can go on to curating.counts, which is actually the ministry that I'm under. That's the umbrella.
And so that's the umbrella organization that you're working in.
Yeah, so that's Rod Hanley founded that, which I love Rod. Man, he's doing amazing ministry. He's been around for 22 years doing it. And so you can go on his website and contact me through there. You can go to my website, which is www.collectiveco.com.
Yeah.
And then you can, again, contact us, booking, all that type of stuff. Or you can reach me by my email, which is Damion Cooper, number 3 @gmail.com, or even my cell phone number. So there's several ways. Or you go on Instagram.
And I'll put all that in the show,
Absolutely.
notes, so that way they can kind of, if they want to reach out to you.
So there's multiple ways that they can reach out to me. Social, like you can DM me on Twitter, Facebook, or even Instagram. So
so if they want to reach out to you. So just on just going back to you said these the getaways, right?
Yeah,
so you've
absolutely.
got the getaways thing you're trying to do, and then you've got the I Am Collective tours.
Absolutely.
Well, that's so cool. So these getaways are like, man, it just seems like these could be happening all over the country. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And then once you get another team together, you got this happening in 2 locations, man.
Yep. And that's the dream. When I sat down in June of 2020 and I prayed about this, God gave me the vision that this wasn't just a Kansas City thing. Kansas City is the heart, but this will be, multi-site. So, throughout different states. There'll be one in Texas. There will be one in, New York, one in Colorado. And there's already been talks about, hey, we want you to bring you in St. Louis and we'll bring you in Denver, Colorado, and which has been really awesome because at the end of the day, it's, what my development is, what I'm doing is getting content for another youth pastor in the community. It's like, hey, you can do this in your community. What you need is this, and this. And then you can say, hey, Collective Company is partnering with us. They're serving us. They're giving the resources. And you start your getaway party in that school and reach those kids, right?
That's awesome,
And so that's what's been really cool,
so
man.
You created a blueprint for this so that other people can kind of participate or follow it.
Absolutely. And so that's, some people are starting to do that right now. And so I'm hopefully, here in the next year, people, gives me some, feedback and some stories like, hey, we tried this and done this. But Kansas City is definitely, we're looking to get an independence, Kansas City, Kansas School District, Blue Springs. And there's been several talks of doing that already. And Unite the Summit as well. It's like, we want to Unite the Denver. We want to do Unite Dallas. So right now, what Collective Company is being right now is creating blueprints that can be established in different places throughout the country. And I believe that's what's going to be really happening in the next 3 to 5 years, that you're going to be seeing Collective Company being, just ahead in the sphere of like, hey, how do you really make a great impact, not only just in your schools? Because God gave me a vision when I was in a prayer meeting, a few years ago, and I'm like, what is this going on? I said, why is there all these schools? And there was lines like this, and there was a detonator, and he's like, push it, and all of a sudden, fuses were going, and schools started blowing up. And I'm like, what is it? He goes, that's the Holy Spirit. Revival is starting happening, and the ministry that you're doing is going to start booming, and it starts in the schools. And then the next week, my wife comes up to me because she's a prayer intercessor. She is a prayer warrior. She literally goes, I see the Collective Company, like how it's really going to boom and grow is through the schools. And I'm like, well, God gave me this vision. So it's really cool what God's been doing in the schools. So
yeah, man. Well, gosh, I mean, I could continue on with this podcast forever. But anyway, I just thank you for being on the Faith Horizons podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's an honor. Man, it's an honor to serve y'all.
We'll get it out, and you can share it with whoever you like to, and hopefully this will help people kind of capture this, the I Am Collective, and then we've got the getaway parties, and currently you're a chaplain, right? For the
football team,
and
basketball team, and soccer team. Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, God bless, man.
Thank you, Nathan.
All right.